All right, this is the light source that's directly over me. I want to be clear, this is not outside of my living room window, and the entity is amplifying helicopter activity, which is way back here. Okay, amplifying the sound of helicopter. This is demonic. It's amplification. This is how the entity is targeting. You also know that they're targeting and that they're group stalking, and it's occurring in the workplace where the entity is simultaneously engaging in what is, this is the state that's monitoring you, engaging in terrorism in the workplace, and then threatening employment while you are documenting their criminal system. That distance is impossible to hear. That's the targeting. That's how you're able to see. In other words, as I've referenced amplification, you also have what is impossible, that the sun would be over me while it's remaining over me at the Ovid Family Community Library. As I've been showing you as I remain inside of my apartment, the entity is maintaining a light source, for example, over the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, as I would wake up there in 2022. The entity is maintaining the light source, which is not in alignment with my living room window, while it's in alignment with my physical presence on the property. This is also the same location where this light source remains, as I'm outside of the same exact office, and after 5 p.m. it's right here over in this direction. My shadow is literally right here. That is the entity that's engaged in group stalking. I want to make sure that I also document what the entity is stating on the communication device. This is Heather Till. She's going to federal prison. She represents the people of the state. This is the light source that's outside of my leasing office window. This is not going to be seen through my living room window. Okay, the location where it's maintaining perfect alignment with me. This is the light source. This is the group stalking by the state, which is also how you know that the entity that's not only group stalking by the state, but that's a demon that's stalking in a helicopter in the specific environment. While this entity is also engaging in what is obstruction of justice. This is targeting with the sound of helicopter. Let me be clear. It's terrorism while the entity amplifies helicopter activity. That's the highest threat by the state. While they're both exhibiting demon possession, and they're also communicating a threat by virtue of your documentation. You are aware of the fact that the entity is monitoring you, and also by virtue of documentation, the entity is intentionally communicating a threat by continuously monitoring you. Remember, this audible activity is the criminal act. It's demonic. It's the audible activity creation in the engineered light and in the specific environment. And so this is occurring again. It's 8:33 in the morning, where I am in an entirely distinct location. For example, also the Department of Motor Vehicles in Glendale. The entity is maintaining a light source while I am in Uber en route to that distinct location where the entity is remaining with that light source. And I capture video at 8:47. The entity is maintaining a light source here, and this is exactly where it's going to stay at 8:47, which I also already juxtaposed video that's already on the record of what's occurring at 8:47, which is nowhere near, again, the Ovid Family Community Library. I'm capturing the light source over just giving you an example of what is surrounding the entity with what is indeed group stalking. And the entity is sending, I took pictures of what you will see, and it's federal stalking, while Heather Till, which represents speaker companies, a third party, and Don Nogle, a third party representing speaker companies, all of whom are the people of the state, stating that they are standing by their legal admissions while they are indeed engaged in group stalking, aware of everything that's being documented. And I even gave these demons the evidence of what is harassment by the state. That's the entity stalking in helicopters, and they are standing by their admissions, which they are giving me. Let me be clear. This is all relevant to the fictitious exercise of authority. This is all relevant to the criminal act of obstruction of justice while you are engaged in the criminal act of the system of federal group stalking and monitoring. And this entity is also, by virtue of my conduct, which is documenting the state, I'm prosecuting the state for the first time ever in history. And this is an entity that's engaging that criminal system that is made aware of. And this is, again, in their alternate universe, because they're monitoring everything that's being documented on the internet, on my phone, for example, aware of the podcast, aware of all of this, and they are feigning ignorance. They are stating as they're in a position of ignorance and that there is no group stalking. This is all in their alternate universe. This is the malice of the demon possessed. This is the people of the state. And everything that they stated in the document, which is a threat to your livelihood while they are the state, group stalking you in the workplace. Grounds of federal prison, grounds of draining the pockets, okay? And that malice is specifically noted by the federal court. They are stating that they're standing by it. They're not retracting or modifying the warning notice, which is a criminal act. And I'm in my response to all this, because I took a picture of it, while, again, the entity is group stalking in real time. The entity is engaging in what is my response, and I'm treating it just like it is. I thank you for your written acknowledgement, which is a criminal act. Everything happening on this communication device is Title 18, 2261A, subsections 1 and 2, criminal activity. And my workplace is the specific environment. The entity is threatening my life, group stalking by the state while I am in the workplace. And the entity that is group stalking is engaging in all of this delusional conduct, which is all criminal. All of it. So this is the P.O.C. while the entity is engaging in what are acts of obstruction of justice. The mental illness is made manifest while an entity engages in this. You are a delusional psychopath. while the entity engaging in such unheard of, unfathomable levels of exhibiting malice, which the federal judge, again, is not going to forget every word that's uttered in the emails and the documents, every act that while the entity is engaging in the P.O.C. You are mindful of that, and it is directly relevant to the enhancement to federal charges and sentencing. In my response, which I've already captured, which is exactly relevant to what I just documented. The entity's group stalking right now. Light source is over me at the workplace, which is downstairs from my apartment, not going to be seen through my living room window while you see me standing outside of my office. But this is exactly what I'm documenting while they are engaged in an ongoing 24-hour sex offense, keeping me under surveillance, and that includes speaker companies. This is the real property. They are part of the same entity keeping me under surveillance on communication devices. They're the same entity that's group stalking, coming onto the grounds while I'm in my apartment, crossing path while LAPD flies over the apartment in helicopters day and night. They're the same entity. Okay, they're indistinguishable as they act as one. The entity is acting under the guise of being a legitimate employer, group stalking, seeking to obstruct justice. It's the same people of the state. To the people of the state that's group stalking in helicopter, under a light source that's nowhere near the California DMV in Glendale, I'm stating what is the fact that it's all going to be treated as an admission while they are in real time threatening my life and physical safety. This is something the federal government will under no circumstances tolerate, and it's going to be punished to the furthest extent of federal law and laws which shall be created in order to serve whatever justice is required. So it's in addition to federal prison. The entire corporate office is going to federal prison. Again, this is Heather Teal, a third party affiliated with speaker companies, and Don Noggle, a third party affiliated with speaker companies, both of whom are documented acting in concert with the LAPD, flying directly over my head, flying over my office while they are on the communication device, engaging in Title 18 criminal conduct, and acting in sync, engaging in the elements of monitoring as well, while the entity is acting in concert with the state that's group stalking in helicopter. This is already on the record. Okay, so I just want to make sure I document that. It's 8:38 in the morning. This is the light source outside of my leasing office, exactly what I was pointing out, which is not seen outside of my my living room window. And under no circumstances is the sun going to be at the same property as I'm capturing outside of my bedroom window on the same property, which is after 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 p.m. The light source, which is not the sun, is still on the same property, seen in perfect alignment with me, like it is in perfect alignment with me now, while I am inside of my apartment, which is on the same grounds of the Alvarado Gardens. So just want to make sure that you are aware of that, because Speaker Company's corporate office is going to federal prison. So this is where I'm at, where I'm inside of my apartment at 1806, and you're looking at the light source at 7 in the morning, which is not over the Ontario Museum, which is what I was pointing out at 7:38 in the morning. It's remaining here. The entity is maintaining a light source. I cannot see what's outside of my leasing office window from what is my bedroom window of my apartment building 1806 on the 3rd floor. The two are not the same, okay? The light source that's outside of this window is not going to be seen outside of this window. This is necessarily movement of the light source to be in alignment with me here, and the light source is necessarily maintaining presence, taking an excess of 8 hours to get to the opposite side of the same property, and that's only when I remain inside. Remember, right now, if I go to the opposite side of the parking lot, where's the light source? Right over me on this side of the building. So all the entity is doing while I remain inside of my apartment, while I remain inside of my office, maintaining the light source all day long, wherever it is that I go, following in direction and alignment with wherever it is that I go, outside of the bounds of the natural environment. This is speaking to what the whole population is doing. The population that lives at Alvarado Gardens, they're all going to federal prison. This is the entity that's threatening your ability to support yourself while they're monitoring you on the job, and then providing nothing other than admissions against itself in their federal prosecution while they are group stalking. That's a psychopath. That level of psychotic conduct, that level of malice is directly punishable by federal prison. So the entity is maintaining a light source here while I'm outside of my leasing office, can't see that through my living room window. While I am in my living room window, in other words, my living room, I'm looking straight forward. The light source is right here until 10:29 in the morning. It's right here over the edge of my window. Remember that? Over the edge of my window? That's not going to be the case. The light source is going to be right over here in front of, over my head at 10:29, which, like I was stating, while I'm facing this direction, while inside of my apartment facing that direction, I cannot see outside of my living room window, which is in that direction. This is speaking to what is stalking with the light source, and the entity is stalking in a helicopter, facilitating everybody. The amplification is serving not only to target me, but it's massive facilitation. The people of the state are monitoring me to that audible activity while the light source is over me and while engineer light covers all of the property. And this same entity is creating what are documents that are going to be used in federal court to prosecute people, individualized federal prosecutions. And this is speaking to what is nothing other than an admission. And this is tying together the criminal act of obstruction of justice while the people of the state are engaged in state surveillance terrorism with the state. Doing so under the guise of a third-party company. All right? It is, again, 8 8:41 a.m. This is P.O.C. Carlo Lopez is documented group stalking. I documented his license plate. That's a threat. That's a threat to your physical safety, your well-being, and as you see, your employment, while the entity is engaging in terrorism in the workplace. Okay, so you're seeing a coworker is a threat to your life and safety. They represent the state, and then they are hostile to you, threatening your ability to support yourself, as opposed to what, let me be clear, the government would like to criminally defame and suggest that you are mentally unfit, incapable of supporting yourself. I want to make sure you understand the malice there. I'm documenting step by step what the government does and who the government does it through, while they are engaging in obstruction of justice, because they're hostile, because their criminal system, not only is it over, the secrecy of it is over, and I'm going to prosecute you for every aspect of that criminal act, every facet you're going to be accountable for. All right, it's 8:42 a.m. This is P.O.C. The light source is remaining here on the property. You saw amplification. Okay, what do I mean by that? Because amplification is something that is audible. You can see it. The evidence of it is because of the great distance of that helicopter. Yet I'm being targeted, terrified through the sound of that helicopter. Terror is reasonably construed from the unnatural environment, from the physical presence of those, and through the amplification. The entity is already a documented kidnapper. I'm kidnapped right now in 2022 by the same entity that's stalking helicopters day and night, acting in concert with the same entity that's threatening my employment, making up information in concert with the people of the state about being a child molester. Okay, and then kidnapping me, and then keeping me kidnapped until I am able to release myself, which again, the ordinary target individual is not an attorney. Okay, does not have the skill set to present a legal argument against an ignoramus, a demon-possessed ignoramus, who thinks that they can abuse their position in psychiatry and engage in nothing other than tantamount to calling names, and that's going to satisfy the Welfare and Institutions Code, which again, I had to articulate. You shouldn't even have to do that. You're going to prosecute because of the abuse of the laws that the state of California is systematically engaging in. And this is serving to undo all that. The government shall no longer exercise the ability to control the liberty and freedom of American citizens based on the claims of fire departments, ambulances, police officers who are engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. They're abusing those laws to kidnap targeted individuals. This is calling for, again, a restructure and the demilitarization of these corrupt law enforcement agencies. All right. So that's just speaking to it. But every SCI corporate office, they're going to federal prison. This is P.O.C.